Okay, the board is reconvening from closed session, and we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 16th, 2021 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 16th, 2021 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 23rd, 2021 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 23rd, 2021 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any public comment this evening? Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, District 201 Board, my name is Ryan Horvath. I am a resident here in Westmont since 2006, born and raised in the western suburbs. District proud, I guess, District 86, 181 member there, Red Devil. So decided to come into the Westmont area because I've always loved this town. Back in 2006, where I rented my first place above the Brat House. I was always attracted to Westmont because of the size of the town, the diversity, etc. And it was where I wanted to kind of set my roots down. So rented my first place, purchased my first condo in 2007, right on Cass Avenue, still own it as an investment property. And about 6 years ago, my wife and I purchased a house on Washington Street, right down from Miller Elementary. When we were looking for our homes, we were looking at other communities nearby. We looked at Downers Grove, we looked at LaGrange, Western Springs, which is really popular, but again, Westmont always kind of had a little piece of my heart, and I liked it for what it was. And finding a house with a half acre of land around here is not very easy. So when we were looking, we approached Miller Elementary. We were aware of a grade level center. And this is, mind you, 6 years ago. So I know that it's been talked about for quite some time. We did ask some people in the schools, and we were told that it just never really went anywhere, and it didn't look like it was going to happen. At this point, my wife was pregnant with number 2, and we knew, God willing, we would have some more children if we were able to. Lo and behold, my wife and I purchased the house at 313 North Washington Street. We now have 4 children. Our oldest is Sebastian. He's a first grader over at Miller Elementary, and he'll be 7 April 27th. Then we have our oldest daughter, Frankie. She is 5, a 4-year-old, which is Jamie, and a 3-year-old. So it's a very busy house. I'm here today to respectfully ask this board to withhold making any permanent decisions on next 21-22 school year for the GLCs until we can get some information. 2020, we were notified that we were going to a GLC after it was already done. COVID has obviously brought a tremendous amount of stress on every human being on this planet. I look at what you guys do, and I am grateful and thankful, and I understand how incredibly difficult it can be. I sit on a couple of boards myself, and we've all had to question all of our members to make sure that their mind was in the right place and that they had the bandwidth to go forward, because it hasn't been easy, and sometimes we've been questioning it. The original GLC for us is what it was, is what it is, if you will, and we decided to go through it and like a champ, like everything else, and just kind of get through it, hoping that we can hear some other information. Unfortunately, it turned into, well, short term for 21-22. The last meeting we tuned in, a few hours went by. I know that the administration had roughly a 30 to 40-minute presentation, of which we only heard about 5 from some teachers. It was a little bit disappointing. I think as a resident, as a father of 4 who chose a home right down the street from a neighborhood school for many reasons, I work extremely late hours in the morning. It's one of the rare times that I get to walk my children up to school. It's a very beautiful thing. There's a few minutes of my day where I can take all of them if they want, rain, snow, doesn't really matter. We make that walk and we enjoy it. It's a really, really important part of my day. Looking at the way GLCs have been this year, we've been able to pass it up. But going forward to next year, I realize that my incoming kindergartner will not be able to go to school with her older brother. He will be at a different school, a change after an extremely hard year mentally for these children. I know that they'll be able to get through it if we have to, but it is a little bit concerning. The other sad thing that I notice is my youngest boy, Dominic, who would be in kindergarten when my oldest would be like the senior at Miller, will never have the opportunity to go to school with his older brother. I am the youngest of 4 sons in my family. I went to Elm School over like Burr Ridge, Hinsdale area. There's so much to be said about that. Transitions in young children's lives can be scary. They can be daunting, especially if there's some other disabilities and things involved. So I'm here to kind of, I guess, plead and respectfully ask again that you guys decide or dedicate some more time to this. So far, there hasn't been one board meeting, not one special meeting that's been dedicated to a GLC. I know that it's a term short term in our world for next year, but the reality of it is, in a child's life, 1 year is a tremendous amount of time. I refuse to look at it in a short term, but I do understand where you're coming from as a board. But I believe that this community, my family, we need more information. We need to see if there were any alternatives, because we're not aware of any, to make sure that these kids could be social distance in an in-school setting. We would like to know if there were any of those opportunities presented, different setups, et cetera, and a little more feedback from the public. It's been really, really challenging to follow. There has not been a lot of information. Some of the families that don't have multiple children like myself that I've been reaching out to, I don't want to be the guy that, I'm opposed to everything, by the way. I am an information seeker. I want to know. I want to know the benefits. I want to know the negatives. SWOT analysis, if you will. I want to look at everything. I've been doing my own research. And I'd like to see that done here. I'd like to see that done here with the board. I'd like to try to get some more community outreach. I know there hasn't been, the Zoom meetings that I attended were really poorly attended. Obviously today, I didn't have to wait in line to step up, but I know my time is limited. I'm just asking that this board or the new board that's coming in with the new members later this month, do a special meeting, dedicate some time, let us know what other alternatives other than a grade level center has been presented. Because quite frankly, it feels like a square peg was put into a round hole, and COVID was the provider of that opportunity. That's my opinion, that's how it feels, it's the opinion of some others. I hope that we can go out there and get some confidence in the community. I really hope that I can feel it or understand why or what the other options were so that I can make a decision, because we have some very important ones. It has not been an easy couple of months. We have actually been looking at other housing. We have been talking to 2 different private schools, and others in the community are doing the exact same thing. They're just not as vocal about it. So I guess that's where I'm just respectfully asking this board to consider that and dedicate a little bit more time. I know this board in the past has had some decisions that were daunting. You know, one that did come up in some of my research was a sports conference change. Doesn't really matter where it came from to me. I'm not into that. The past is the past. I'm all about the future. I'm all about the information. But the reality is that was a decision that had multiple meetings dedicated to it. Grade level centers, short-term or long-term, has not had that opportunity in this community, and people feel it. So I really greatly appreciate your time. Hopefully I'm not that guy that's always like, hey. I'll see, it's good to see like names with half of faces at least. But thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this evening? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Personnel recommendations, which is a retirement, appointment of the DAOES representative, and approval of additional March 2021 expenditure report.
So moved.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Strohmeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes. Next agenda.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the update on the 2020-2021 school year.
And as I've been doing with every board meeting, briefing the board and the community on kind of where we're at as a school district this year, I'm happy to say this one's much briefer than some of the other ones that we've had, so I should be able to move through it quickly. But I always like to repeat some information because you never know who might be looking in for the first time. But again, school districts are following the Restore Illinois plan. Currently, again, we're at phase 4. I think we're approaching phase 5, and there's even a phase 4.5 that the governor has talked about as we get more and more people vaccinated. Again, our guiding principles, we always consider the health and safety of our students and staff. We want to make sure that we're providing an engaging learning experience for our students. We're addressing social emotional needs, and that we're trying to provide consistency and stability for our students and staff, and that throughout the year, we've been providing professional learning opportunities for our staff as they move through a very challenging year. An update on our COVID data, and our last board meeting was March 16th, so this is from March 16th until present. We've had 1 certified staff member who tested positive during that time. We've had 8 that were quarantined, and then 2 non-certified that could not self-certify. Then on non-certified staff, we had 2 that had to quarantine due to exposure. Student attendance, and that I should update that that's until last Friday. That's not March 11th, but last Friday. And you can see where we're at in terms of since the last board meeting, the number of students who could not self-certified. Positive COVID test, we only had 1 student at Manning that tested positive for COVID, who was in person. But we've had a number of students who cannot self-certify. Part of that is, again, the CDC guidelines about traveling during spring break, and some families did and opted to quarantine their child when they return. Athletics, it's kind of, again, a hodgepodge. We're wrapping up the fall sports season at this time of year. We're starting our spring sports season. And we've had, since our last board meeting, we had no positive COVID tests among our athletes. We are experiencing low participation. As a matter of fact, we did not get enough students, female students, for girls soccer. And so we're not, the high school did everything they could, asking every female as they walked in the door, hey, how about playing soccer this year? So we're not gonna be able to field the soccer team. In talking to other high schools, they're experiencing the same thing, low participation. Some of it does have to do with the fact that students are wearing masks during the day, and then depending upon the sport, they may be required to wear a mask for practice and for games. And for some of the students, they're just kind of, it's the fatigue. They really don't want to continue that after school. So we do have, participation is down in athletics. Our local positivity rate, we were seeing a bounce up, and I was happy when I looked at it yesterday that the numbers are starting to come down. So this is as of yesterday. So for Westmont, we're back under 4%. For a while there, we were trending above 5%. Downers Grove is at 5%, Clarendon Hills 7.8, Hinsdale 5.46, and the average is 5.5. If you look at this, again, goes out every Monday. This is the school metrics from DuPage County. And you can see we're still trending up with the cases per 100,000. And so that ends up keeping us in that substantial. The other, unfortunately, we are seeing upward trends in, again, the positivity rate, and they're seeing an increase in cases of students under 20. They are youth sports, they think, may be a contributing factor to that uptick, so something that we want to monitor. And then this is the new CDC transmission levels and what that means for school districts. Again, for us, we're looking at our average positivity rate being under 10%, and then also we're hoping to get that number of new cases under 100. That seems to be the stubborn number that's not cooperating. And again, what that means for the types of school environments you can have. For the second semester, again, we're looking at 10% and less than 200 cases per 100,000. We've been able to maintain that for the second semester. And again, we haven't had to, I think the board remembers, because of Election Day, we had the junior high on remote, but that was because it's a polling place, the community was coming into the building. But other than that, we've been able to maintain in-person learning with all of our buildings, even with some of our staff having to quarantine because of travel. We've been able to stay in person. Again, DuPage County right now is trending above 5% for the county. Our positivity rate is less than that, and our average community is 5.5. Again, we're seeing that underage increasing under 20, and new cases are still above 100,000. We are still in hybrid, but we are on target to resume full days the 26th. The board later on in this meeting will be approving a contract so that we can work with a third party to add additional custodians to our buildings. So the board will be approving that, so that will secure that. And we are on target then to resume full day in person. Any questions?
Kevin, thank you for the update. I am just curious. I know you are, throughout this school year and even in advance have been meeting with the DuPage Department of Public Health, and that they give you updates on, their recommendations for guidelines. With more vaccinations coming out and more of the community, getting to that point where there's a little more confidence and hopefully the numbers staying in an okay-ish range. What are they saying now in terms of our look ahead? They are concerned about the under 20 age group increase, but overall, and again, we were getting down to about 105, 106 new cases per 100,000, and so they are a little concerned about that uptick now that we've been trending 140 in some cases, but overall, they don't. They're not using the term surge at this time. Like they're concerned that we are headed that direction. So, in terms of guidance for school districts, they haven't changed. They haven't changed anything. Their recommendations. Yet. And there's no indication that they will, or is there an indication?
At this point, no.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. It's helpful.
Has there been any discussion with the DuPage County with the potential for vaccinations to happen for ages 12 to 15 that's in front of the CDC, or excuse me, FDA? Is there any talk of like helping, just kind of like the county did help facilitate for teachers, the ability for them to go and get vaccinated? Is there any sort of talk yet about coordination, if that were to get approved, and helping coordinate students who are interested, places they could go to be vaccinated, or will that just be handled through the state, kind of like the rest of the public?
We have had conversations about that in terms of having for schools, school age students, having vaccination clinics and kind of dividing the county in quadrants so that it wouldn't necessarily, like we were trying to have every school district host for their staff. It didn't quite work out that way. But this would be more a concentrated effort to make sure that there are areas within the county that students could go. And so, yes, we are talking about doing that. And in some cases, we're actually having conversations with the IDPH directly to see if we might be able to work with the IDPH to secure the vaccine we would need for all the students in the county.
That's great.
Okay, anything else on that topic? Okay. End of the year events and closing of the school year?
This is in a Google slideshow. So last year, if the board remembers, we were hoping that we'd be able to have some type of culminating activities for our students, especially our 8th graders and seniors, and it never really materialized what we were hoping for. This year, because of where we're at with the transmission and some of the guidance that we've gotten from the IDPH, we are going to be able to do some things primarily outdoors to celebrate our students. And so on May 14th, the 5th grade will have a picnic to kind of celebrate their end of elementary before they transition to the junior high. Westmont Junior High School, typically they have an 8th grade dance. That would be an indoor event. So instead, they're working on an 8th grade celebration. So a lot of different activities. They haven't decided yet if they're going to do it on the high school grounds or the junior high grounds. The PTO and the administration are working on those particulars. And then on May 24th will be graduation. It'll be on the football field at the high school, and with the rain date being May 25th for the junior high. For the high school, this Saturday, again, prom is difficult because it's an indoor event, but they are doing a senior celebration outside at the high school. The Fine Arts Department wants to have some type of a festival, and again, that would be outdoors.
That's great.
And then the senior awards will still be virtual. So that's when students are recognized for their scholarships and departmental awards. May 21st will be the senior barbecue. Again, that will be outdoors. And then the graduation will be May 26th on the high school football field with a rain date of May 27th. And the students will be, for both graduations, the students will be on the field, and then the family will be in the bleachers and be able to watch their children graduate. So those are the plans this year.
And what about limitation of people at that outdoor graduation? Is it just, is it limited to just family? Is it?
I believe, I'll have to confirm, I believe it's 4 tickets per family.
Okay.
And that's because we're limited to 20% capacity in the
No, I
bleachers.
think it might have been 3.
3 tickets?
Thought I read something like that.
So, and then as always, there are some families that maybe only need 2. And so some families can reach out and see if there's an extra ticket that they might be able to use for their family.
On the positive side, it might show that we can actually do outdoor graduations because we've never done it before.
That's what we talked about. We've always really liked the auditorium. The students have always pushed for an outdoor, so this is an opportunity to kind of see how it goes, and
Right.
Absolutely.
it may be a new tradition, yeah.
Is it going to be broadcast just for
You know-
folks that can't come, or recorded at all?
We'll have to check.
For grandparents or-
And see if we can. I know in the past, we've worked with Glenn Lulgeberg, and he's live streamed it for us. We'll have to see if he would be able to do that at an outdoor.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky.
Great point, though, especially if it's limited.
Yes, yeah.
We'll see what we might be able to do.
I just want to thank the administration and the PTOs for finding a way to celebrate. I think it was really heartbreaking last year to not have those celebrations, and I'm so proud that they worked together to figure out a safe way to celebrate our students and their achievements. That's wonderful.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Okay, we have a number of action items to go through. The first item, approval of principals' contracts. That's going to be split into 2 motions. one for each principal. So we will start with Mr. Jonak. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the principal contract for John Jonak for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Hoover.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mr. Donio.
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Coyle.
Yes.
Ms. Conover.
Yes.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the principal contract for Jack Balderman for the 2021-22 and 22-23 school years as presented.
I'm sorry, may I ask a couple of questions before? Okay. And Kevin, these are questions particularly pertaining to Mr. Balderman's current contract.
Sure.
In looking at Mr. Balderman's current contract, it appears that he currently has a retirement contract. Is that correct?
Correct.
Could you tell us how long has he had that current
I
contract?
believe his retirement contract was for 5 years with 6% bumps
6% bump, so he's
Right.
been receiving 6% increases
for the 5 years.
for past 5 years.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then finally, am I also correct in understanding that the district, on top of the retirement benefits, it also contributes to his TRS?
Right, that's, all administrators have that
Great.
benefit in their contract.
Perfect, thank you for clarifying that for me.
And just, again, clarification, Mr. Baldwin did ask the board if they would consider keeping him on for the additional 2 years.
Thanks.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Price.
Yes?
Ms. Coyle.
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Conover.
No.
Ms. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Redonio.
No.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is approval to maintain current grade level alignment at Manning and Miller for one more year. The chair will entertain a motion to maintain the current grade level alignment at Manning and Miller for the 2021-2022 school year.
So, sorry, before we vote on this, Kevin, you had a memo in our board packet, and it talked about class sizes.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about the space concerns as well, and why that is such a critical component of this?
Sure, and part of the request to remain for the one more year is because there are unknowns about next fall, what next fall will look like. There was a committee that was looking at, the best configuration for the elementary schools, and they did come to the board as they were moving through the process, and it was, the board suggested that the administrative team expand that and get more input. And so at the same time, though, we have to plan for next year and not knowing what next year is going to bring. With remaining in the alignment we currently are, Miller's a small building, and so we're able to maintain social distancing, get all the students back in the building. We're anticipating starting the year full days. And we don't think there's going to be a requirement for a remote learning option, although you can anticipate there will be some students who will have a medical need not to be in person, but it won't be so it'll be more closer to what a normal day is. And so for those reasons, we're recommending the one more year. There will be a task force, though, that will be meeting this summer. It'll be inclusive, and taking a look at other options, because part of the conversation was, should the district look at a K-5 building versus having two K-5 buildings? And so there are other things on the table, also in terms of programming. There was been some consideration about, should we look at our school year, and should we stay with the traditional school year that we've had? So there's a lot of items that can be discussed by the task force before ultimately making a recommendation to the board for how to proceed as a district going forward.
Beyond next year.
Right, beyond next year.
Just want to be make sure
Kevin?
we're being really clear.
Right, this is just this year.
Can you restate what that task force looks like, or what it's made of?
The task force?
It'll be, it'll include, parents, it'll include, staff from the schools, and then obviously if board members want to be a part of it, board members would be allowed to be a part of it.
Is there space for, or an avenue for more of the community other than parents?
Sure. Sure.
Kevin, what's the limit on how many board members can join a committee outside of a board meeting without breaking the Open Meetings Act?
I think 3. As long as we post it, 3, you're not breaking the open.
If it's a posted meeting, it's fine.
Okay.
If you are there as observers and you're not debating and discussing the topic, all 7 board members could be there, as long as you're not participating in debate over the topic,
But if they wanted to be active members of the discussion, it would just be,
Make sure the meeting gets posted as a
Gotcha.
public
Has to be
meeting.
posted, right?
thank you.
And Kevin, could you just clarify that the 21-22 decision was based on, as I understand it, and this goes back to our meetings in June, July, and August, that it was based on prioritizing the youngest students in our building to be in the building 5 days a week?
Right.
And that would not have been possible and is not possible with COVID precautions of social distancing.
Right.
That we placed in-person 5 days a week for the youngest learners in our building to be more important than doing an A-B situation
Right, exactly.
for those youngest learners in our building like we did.
Right.
And that is where this came from.
Right.
Yeah, and those are the meetings,
Yes.
for the public. Those are the meetings they should look at, June, July, and August of last year.
Yeah. Thank you.
So move.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approval of continued employment contracts of non-tenured teachers and tenure recommendations. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the continued employment for all non-tenured and tenured teachers as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Approval of contract with Precision Human Resources Solutions, Inc. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract with Precision Human Resources Solutions, Inc. for temporary custodial staffing services.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Approval of contract with Bright Star Healthcare. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract with Bright Star Healthcare for temporary medical staffing services.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Approval of audit contract renewal. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the audit contract renewal with Miller Cooper and Company LTD to provide audit services for the fiscal years ended June 30th, 2021, 2022, and 2023 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes. Board action on closed session minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the board action on closed session minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Coyle?
Yes.
Ms. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio?
Yes.
Ms. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Motion carries. Destruction of verbatim closed session minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim closed session minutes from April 9, 2019 through September 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Hoover.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Ms. Redonio.
Yes.
Ms. Strohmeyer.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Conover.
Yes.
Ms. Coyle.
Yes.
All right, superintendent's report.
A couple of items in my report. Normally, we would have information about summer school out to our families, but again, the unique situation, we're still working with the ROE on finalizing the plans for summer school. But most of the programs, though, will be invitation only. Normally, it's kind of open to all students who want to participate. But again, the focus is on learning loss and trying to close some of those gaps with our students. And so that information will be coming out shortly. There's two opportunities this summer for community involvement. One is we're going to be forming an equity and inclusion committee to take a look at our district and do an equity audit and see where we're at. And I'm guessing that there will be some things coming to the board for board adoption and approval as a result of that work. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have a task force, future planning, looking at our district and our elementary buildings. We'll be getting dates out on those meetings, and that'll be an opportunity for community involvement as well as we look at the grade configuration and have other conversations. And then just a quick thank you to our assistant principals. Last week was Assistant Principal Week, and I just wanted to take a moment to recognize and thank our elementary assistant principal, Sandy Moyer, our junior high assistant principal, Amy Quattrone, and our two high school assistant principals, Megan Bervink and Kevin Weck, for all the work that they do for our students. They're very student-centered, their contributions to our district. So thank you very much.
Can we expect to have some more information on that summer school, like maybe by the next meeting, do you think? What's your
Yes,
vibe?
I think we will be able to do that.
Okay, because I know that we're definitely starting to get,
Oh, yeah.
see.
Yeah. No.
Okay, any other comments or questions about the superintendent's report? Okay, are there any board reports this evening?
I have a board report. I've been writing. So it's been a really exhausting year for every board member, every administrator and principal, every single staff member, for students and for all parents this year. It's been a tough year. And with this exhaustion, I think emotions have really run really high. And it's really evident in our last election of high emotions. And the board, as long as I've been a part of it, and my husband prior to me, has struggled with drama impeding forward movement. And this is unfortunately continuing. I think we need to think as a community. We're such a small, I love Kevin's thought, vision for our district that he made a long time ago of small giants. And we are just the underdog. Our public comment earlier talked about some well-established school districts around us. We're a very small school district. We have a higher percentage of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch than a lot of other schools in our area. We're small giants. We do things differently. And we have to come together, I think, as a community to do what we need to do. And we are going to disagree with each other, but we need to figure out a way, and we can even disagree strongly, but we need to figure out a way on how to do that well. And that's really hard, especially when we're all exhausted. But I just implore us to find a way to do it. Even in hard decisions that we have to make, that we've made, these poor new members, their first meeting, they made the most controversial decision of my entire school board career, which was deciding if we were going to go remote or not. Your first meeting, we threw you in that pond. And here you still are, which is just amazing. I remember a parent writing me a really angry email that night saying, how can you sleep at night? And I thought, none of us are sleeping tonight. These are really hard decisions. I work in healthcare, and I took my first day off in months over spring break. And I got a nice time to reflect with my family, and I have made the decision to resign from the school board. Two of the most stressful environments you can work in are healthcare and education, and I have worked endless hours in healthcare and then spent a lot of my free time in education, and those are tough spots to be in. I'm really bummed about this decision. It has not come easy to me because I'm really excited for where we're going. I think we have an amazing team. I'm so proud of our new members. I'm so proud of the members that are coming on, and I'm sad to not be part of the forward progress. And I just want to encourage you guys to keep up the good fight, and it's a hard fight, to keep fighting for the information that you need to make the best decision that you can. And one piece of advice someone gave to me was that no matter what decision you make, 60% of the people are going to like it and 40% of the people aren't, no matter if you're lucky. And one thing I think we've struggled with is making decisions, but I think we need to, or you, I guess, now need to be courageous and make the decisions that need to be made while allowing thoughtful discussion and debate while being respectful and just being for each other. And I ask that the community, I know there's been a lot of controversy, but that the community helps surround the school district after such a hard year. And you don't have to surround us as the board, but surround the principals and the staff because they're struggling and we're all tired. And let's continue to be small giants and continue the wonderful work that the board before us put into motion, and all the principals and staff and Kevin and Kim have done the work before us. So that was a little longer-winded than I had planned, but I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, allowing me to learn and serve, and I look forward to just being a parent for a minute, but I will really be excited to watch and support where you guys go next. So thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Dana, thank you for stepping up and serving. This is not an easy job. And you've always approached it in a very thoughtful and a very compassionate way, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for being a member of the board.
And I just want to say too, Dana, I think I'm very sad that your time on the board is going to come to an end, but I think it's important that you know that your impact on the board is going to be felt for a very long time. And I think there's recommendations that you've brought forward that we have yet to implement, which are going to help us moving forward for a very long time. So thank you for that.
And I want to thank you for being a great mentor, and you still are, you remain as a great mentor, and also for our outgoing members also. That I think it's hard to tell from the community, but I want to publicly say thank you for that. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and your wisdom.
I guess we can say about that, the board will be making an announcement about the procedure for asking for interviewees and sending in applications for a vacancy at some point. I don't think it will happen just yet. The board has, I think, 60 days to replace a board member, so this will be structured, I think, maybe to begin before the next board, but then the next board will be conducting the interviews and reviewing applications and conducting the interviews. So look for that down the road. Any other board reports this evening? Any public comment?
Still say it for the community, though.
I'm Dana Hayjack, and I just wanted to show up today and follow up with the board about the decision that was made at last board meeting to move to full-day learning. I think I can speak for most everyone in our community that we want our kids back in full-day learning, and we want our kids to be as close to what we knew previously as normal as we can get them. I want to encourage the board to, in future meetings, to give us more of a breakdown of what it took to get there financially. I think a big part of what was missing in the presentation about full day was a breakdown of the financial commitment that the district was going to have to make to switch to full day. I don't know that that would be something that would deter anybody's vote. I just think that it's a matter of like public knowledge that we should know what is getting spent on a move like that for those 5 weeks so that people can absorb it in a way that's, you know, for all of us laymen who aren't looking at education financials often, to just know this is what we invested to make this happen, especially since we hear continuously that our board is operating on a deficit budget. I think that's the responsible thing for us to do for the community. I also want to encourage the board moving forward to just be mindful of the situation on social media. And I say this as a person who tries to stay away from most of that. I have really backed off of my social media presence, but I would like to see the board be a little more, I want to be clear, you're allowed to have your parent lens and your board lens, and I think that's important. But when conversations reach a position of now it sounds like you're a board member talking about it, that's when things get questionable. So I would encourage the board to maybe lay down some like ground rules moving forward with new members coming into the board of like, this is how we're going to have these conversations. This is what we expect out of the board members. This is where you can talk. This is where you should maybe lay off it a little bit, because I think those guidelines would be important to kind of mend and heal a lot of what Dana was talking about, of this hostility and this division. And we have a lot of hard conversations that are coming up. And if we move into those conversations with the same tone that we have been carrying for the last month or two, it's not going to produce what we want to. And I think we all want to produce the great things for all the sides want to do that, right? So we just need to change the tone a little bit. And I think laying down a little bit of ground rules for that, for especially new members coming in on the board who like don't know what they're even getting into yet, that would be the responsible thing to do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything listed for future meetings and events.
We'll have to set the board calendar. We'll set the board calendar at the next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. There will be, we don't need to return to closed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Adjourn.